Or what about the fine-tuning of the laws of nature within that Big Bang? You see someone enter a sequence of numbers into a cash machine, and it gives them money. Were they lucky, or did they get the money by design?
Hold on a second. Can we not put the cart in front of the horse, please, as things just don't work that way? Your analogy opens up with the declaration that a conscious being who interacts with a machine gets their desired result. The case of fine-tuning is nothing like this. A more apt analogy would be that we see no evidence of anyone interacting with said cash machine, yet suddenly it dispenses money. Was that chance, aka mechanical malfunction, or intended purpose, aka an invisible spectre withdrawing some cash? Of course, when you open with a statement that person X did so and so, all likelihood is that it was their actions that caused something to happen. But that is not what we are dealing with. This analogy requires the existence of a person present to be proven fact before it has any power. The same cannot be said for God, as the intention of this argument is to prove God. Greetings and welcome there, people of YouTube. This is Essence of Water, continuing with my dismantling of Peter S. Williams' lecture given at the University of Surrey. However, I must stop to note that this video gave me a lot of trouble in making it interesting, and I didn't get the spark until I saw AntiCitizenX's video, Philosophical Failures of Christian Apologetics, Part 6, Terrible Teleology. An amazing work of academic art well worth your time. Some of the arguments he made will be brought here and tailored to Peter S. Williams, but not all of them, so I felt that credit was needed where credit was due, so I'll link the video down below. With that said, let us continue.
When a complex event matches an independently given or functionally specified pattern, we very naturally and rightly infer design.
This is true. If that specified pattern, aka prediction, was given prior to the event or discovery. If I go, when I put in my PIN number, I will get money, and then proceed to do so and get money, you can be assured that it's me. If, however, I'm walking down the street and I notice a malfunctioning machine is putting out money and declare, I have telekinesis and therefore am responsible for that money dispensing, you would think me a sham, a con. Rather than take my word, you in fact ask for more evidence for me to make a prediction and then carry it out before your eyes. I could of course merely respond with an ad hoc remark that I work in mysterious ways, or even threaten you with, do not push me, for I am a vengeful man and I will turn your chest inside out whilst ensuring that you survive to feel every and each agonizing second of it. But then I think theologians and street preachers everywhere would be upset at me stealing their arguments.
But then the cosmic fine-tuning would seem to be an example of exactly that kind of a pattern. American philosopher Bill Craig puts it like this. He says the fine-tuning of the universe could be due to physical necessity or chance or design. But if we can rule out physical necessity and chance, then no, we can rule in design.
Forgetting the fact of a false trichotomy and ruling out other possibilities, e.g. crossovers of chance and physical necessity at different levels, wrong. If you can rule out our understanding of chance and physical necessity, then you have done just that, ruled out our understanding. This does not then suddenly conclude that a third option is correct, especially considering the number of holes that exist in that third option. I could merely point out that we can rule out intelligent design, as by all physical experience a mind cannot exist without a brain. Brains require matter, and matter came into existence following the start of the universe. To overcome this, you would have to show me a mind that is not anchored in the physical world, and that is not a testable claim, and therefore not scientific and holds no weight.
Well, here we can call Stephen Hawking as an expert witness. Hawking would agree that the laws of nature are not determined or demanded by logical or physical principle. We can cross out physical necessity from our list.
Yes and no. Firstly, let us look purely at the comment which you have selected. The man whom you refer to as your expert witness and flaunt about as evidence of your worldview opens with the two words, "it appears." Hawkins is no fool nor a showman in that he acknowledges that our knowledge is restricted in various ways. This wording is very carefully selected to avoid being used in an argument from authority, which is good, as I then decided to look up the rest of the passage. Turns out that Hawkins then went on to clarify what he meant with the following. The parameters are free to take on many values and the laws to take on any form that leads to a self-consistent mathematical theory, and they do take on different values and different forms in different universes. That may not satisfy our human desire to be special or to discover a neat package to contain all the laws of physics, but it does not seem to be the way of nature. So whilst Hawkins says that there is no IKEA-style universe coming in a flat pack, he does still view there as being some restricting factors, i.e. self-consistent mathematical theory, which is akin to the thought that a table can come in a lot of forms, yet there are still some qualifying factors for a table. Look out at nature and such things as waterfalls. Whilst there are some general restrictions and qualifiers such as source of water and change in erosion rates, possibly due to softer stone lower down, waterfalls can take a number of shapes and forms, and none are perfectly identical. Therefore, I question your assertion, yet for the sake of the video, I shall accept it temporarily.
How do we choose between the chance and design hypotheses? Like the cash machine, Craig explains, in addition to high improbability, there needs to be a conformity to an independently given pattern. And when those two elements are present, we have specified complexity, which is the tip-off to intelligent design. Thus, for example, in a poker game, any deal of cards is, of course, equally and highly improbable. But if you find that every time a certain player deals, he gets all four aces, you can bet that this is not the result of chance, but of design. Hawking says the problem is, for our theoretical models of Big Bang to work, the initial state of the universe had to be set up in a very special and highly improbable way. In other words, he would agree that the fine-tuning of the universe seems to exhibit specified complexity.
Yes, but he explained his way around this, and if you read the passage that followed your quote, you would see this. Your entire argument crumbles on the basis that you failed to rid yourself of quantum mechanics earlier and thus have shot yourself in the foot. You see, due to the model of expansion, the universe would have been at a size at the moment of formation in which it would have been susceptible to quantum theory, and thus there is an entirely plausible and more probable answer.
But if such complexity indicates design reliably in our experience, then we have a good argument that the fine-tuning of the universe was probably designed. We've crossed out necessity and chance, ruling in design. Now, of course, the typical objection here, just to look at the typical one, is to say something like, well, if there were enough different universes, then the specified fine-tuning of our universe wouldn't be complex or unlikely enough to justify a design inference. We give ourselves extra rolls of the dice, as it were, in order to explain it away. Of course, the crucial premise that you need in order to get to the conclusion that the fine-tuning doesn't justify a design inference is that there are enough different universes out there, which in the absence of independent evidence is not a very good argument. It's a bit like saying, well, if there were enough monkeys at enough typewriters typing away randomly for long enough, they could produce Hamlet. But whenever you go to see Hamlet, or you see a copy of the play Hamlet, you don't immediately go, oh, look, there must be a heck of a lot of monkeys and typewriters somewhere.
And so the onslaught of fallacious analogies continues. Here's the thing. Shakespeare has been proven to exist. People have been proven to exist. Time and monkey availability factors in. The writings of Shakespeare have a historical background, not inside the text yet in its origins. We have other physical evidence for Shakespeare's existence. We do not have the same for God. Prove to me that deities exist, and that specifically yours exist, and that so far all observed universes created are the product of a god. Then you'll have an argument. Yet, as that's what you are arguing for currently, it means that this argument is obsolete, as it requires what it attempts to prove to be true in order to use it to begin with. Then there's the fact of time and monkey availability. Simple math should tell you that the probability of X happening is the opposite of X not happening. So when the probability of X happening is infinite, the probability of X not occurring is 0. Infinity is the key. To top this off, let's remember that the definition of nothingness as offered by Krauss and others such as Hawkins is space without time. If you remove this restriction and add in the instability of nothing as observed from virtual particles, and your mockery backfires. The chances of the universe booting up were infinite, just as the probability of a monkey who can write an infinite number of pages before a second passes would write Shakespeare. Going back to your analogies earlier, say I had a computer capable of processing infinity instantaneously. It does not matter how many times you wanted a 6 rolled with a digital dice, how many straight draws of aces, how long your pin code was, the computer would do all of them simultaneously, instantaneously.
Agnostic Jim Holt, in his book Why Does the World Exist, says, since other universes are by definition not directly observable from our own, the burden of proof is clearly on those who claim they exist. Chad Meister points out that there is currently no experimental evidence in support of the many universes hypothesis, though. So just like Hamlet, I think the one designer hypothesis seems to be much more straightforward.
Science agrees, and that is why we are currently looking deeper into dark matter, i.e. the substance that our universe is primarily comprised of. We cannot see dark matter directly, yet observe its effects on gravity. Similarly, the LISA Pathfinder, a satellite set to launch in 2015, seeks to record various forms of data, including such data that people like Dr. Michio Kaku hope will offer a glimpse into the moment of formation and possibly signs of other universes. That's how science works. It creates models which are testable and then throws itself full force at this to see if they fail or pass. Your religion, on the other hand, does the exact opposite. It runs from the facts of reality for as long as possible before eventually giving up and retrofitting what we find out to what it wants as best as it possibly can. It is a shameful act, and as displayed throughout your series, you are no innocent in this.
Even if you do invoke multiverses, they don't actually help you. As Paul Davies, as an agnostic cosmologist, says, multiverse theories merely shift the problem up a level from the universe to the multiverse. One only has to list the many assumptions that underpin a multiverse theory. There has to be a universe-generating mechanism, and so on. That mechanism has to be there in order to produce and differentiate these different supposed universes that we're contemplating. And indeed, why should that particular mechanism of its particular specified complexity, rather than another, one that just randomly generates millions and millions of non-life permitting universes? It would never permit one. Why a mechanism that would permit one of the universes to have life? You just kind of kick the problem up a level.
It is amazing just how much of your argument relied on the previous part of your lecture, which attacked quantum mechanics, as without that your entire point here just crumbles away like the ruin of an ancient civilization that refused to change with the times. The fact is that the point as to why does our universe permit life is a moot point, considering that such a small fraction of it does. Think of the vastness of space, all of those planets in their own solar systems, and yet we are the only planet so far known to harbour life. The fact that our universe can hold life is no more magical, just wondrous in a sense.
Bradley Monton says, at the end here, would there not be improbable fine-tuning associated with the existence of these physical realities, i.e. the universe-generating mechanisms as well? It's like trying to hide the ruckle in the carpet by sort of moving it along the corridor a bit. So Bradley Monton, and again I stress, he remains an atheist. But he says, I hold that the intelligent design arguments do have some force. They make me less certain of my atheism than I would had I not heard the arguments. I think there is some evidence for an intelligent designer, and in fact I think there is some evidence that the intelligent designer is God.
Yet luckily, we as atheists have no authority figures who speak for the rest of us, and thus these quotes are rather pointless, and you're merely multiplying sources beyond necessity in attempts to wow listeners. I remain very unmoved as a whole for a number of reasons. For one, your failure to effectively dispose of quantum mechanics earlier in your lecture cost you major here, as it's very much offering a mechanism the previous quotes have claimed non-existent. Secondly, there was the fact of multiple takes of the multiverse theory, and neither you nor I have time to go through all of them. Yet it was you who, by your own admission, has to falsify the naturalistic answers, and thus it's not on me. Thirdly, your analogies were rather dishonest from the go, which jeopardized any actual arguments you could have made by resorting to cheaper alternatives. Remember this, cheaper often means less reliable. As my final counter-argument, I like to offer the following. By claiming that the universe had to be fine-tuned in order for a God to create life, you are in fact placing a restriction on the so-called all-powerful God. That's right, the fine-tuning argument is self-defeating from the moment the theist states it, as it inexcusably argues that God could not have made the universe any other way and it be able to harbour life. Ironic considering the types of quotes Williams has used. So yes, science will continue to search for truth and change what is proven false when it is revealed, whilst religion will merely cling to the decaying worldview that it forms. This is the end of this part of the series. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, as well as share on Facebook and Twitter. Also, don't forget to head over to AntiCitizenX's video for an extra anti-apologetic piece of fun. This is Essence of Thought, hoping you're all doing great. Take care and out.